Hello, and welcome to Knights in the Night Actual Play Podcast. This 5th edition D&D game, The Heretic, was written and run by our DM, Scott. And now, please enjoy episode 488, titled, I Took Up Papercrafting Last Night. Actual play begins immediately.
This is Scott. I'll be your DM for this 5e adventure, The Heretic. With me tonight, starting on my right, is...
I'm Tom, and I'm playing Alder and He is a human cleric of Amira and a new skill-seeking rogue.
Hi, I'm Mike, playing Marduk, a male half-orc fighter, graduate of the Academy, and an eldritch knight of the Fist of Amira.
Hello, I am Jim. I'm playing Grodor. He is a hobgoblin warlock and one of the tired fists of Amira, always searching for truth, knowledge, and an uneventful night sleep.
I'm John, playing Melody, a female human cleric, third of the exemplar family Harmony, ex-ambassador turned political operative by way of the Fists of Amira.
I'm Thomas. I'll be playing Gabrielle d'Angelis. She's a female human paladin and a holy Fist of Amira who has unknowingly taken the first steps toward her destined oath of conduct.
All right. As we left off last week...
You've always been dealing with interesting side jobs.
Yeah, she has, for most of her life.
I know that your family traveled from place to place and that you had a lot of things to deal with that I never did, but that's weird. That's weird.
I'm gonna pull out a ink bottle and a quill and get some parchment and try to write it a message, put it through the keyhole.
That's a really small message, because that keyhole's kind of tiny.
Well, I'm folding it up. I imagine this creature has no problem unfolding paper.
Okay. What does this message say?
Well, it had a message written in Celestial, right?
You thought that some of the runes were in Celestial. It was a flash, though. It happened so fast. You thought you recognized a couple runes, but that was about it.
If I'm not mistaken, I know Celestial.
I don't think you're mistaken.
I think I know enough to write some of it.
I can assist you, but yes, go ahead.
I'm going to compose a message. Maybe we can work together here. I don't mind. If you could help me with something, I could consider allowing your freedom. I slide that message in and see if there's any kind of response.
Oh, wait.
Okay.
Before you slide it in.
Yes.
Tap twice if you understand.
And sure, yeah. Knock twice if you understand.
Okay. You go ahead and fold it up into a really small piece of paper. You still hear noises of papers ripping and tearing and whatnot inside the crate. But you do get it through, and once it drops inside the crate, you hear silence. Then you hear what sounds to you like chewing, and then the chewing stops, and then you hear 2 taps.
Okay, it doesn't read it each messages.
Or it didn't know there was a message. I'm not going to speculate. Where did you put the inscriptions that we had from the Spear of Amira?
Well, I took notes over here.
Okay,
And
let's
I
make a
bring out
copy.
Yeah. You think?
I'm going to ask him for a translation.
Okay. Could you poop out a translation?
I don't know.
You have some notes that you've been jotting down in your journal that you keep, that you have, that's important to you.
Yes.
There's definitely blank pages. It's a thick journal. You can send one of those notes in there, or you could transcribe a note. And
right. I rip out a page, put it over the notes that I have, and hold it up to the light so I can retrace them easily and get them what I hope is correct.
Okay. We'll say that takes maybe 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. In the meantime, the crunching and chewing begins again from inside the crate.
Yeah, it's probably growing.
You get the piece of paper and you fold it up and kick it in to the crate. You hear the same thing. You hear the stopping of the chewing, and then you hear shuffling around. Then you hear more chewing, So what you sent was just basically a bunch of information in Celestial and Common. You hear tapping again.
So if it eats the runes, does it become like a holy Amira paper drake?
All creatures are Amiras.
Right. All right. Are we opening up this thing?
I don't know another way to communicate with it. I don't know any series of Nox language.
Well, I mean, you can convey a language with it, and it just eats it. You can talk to it. I'm not sure it can talk to you.
I'm not going to take the time to make a Morse code language right now.
I understand. I'm just saying you probably wanted to swear it will not run away type of thing.
Right.
To give a promise before we open the thing and do it in a hurry before it eats any more of your book.
I mean, I'll give it a shot, but I don't know if I can trust this thing. So whatever, just get ready, I write a note that says, I've got a crew here. We'll try to track you down. You're worth more to me captured unless you can help with this. If you promise not to try to escape, we can work together to earn your freedom.
Okay, you sending that in?
Yes.
Same thing happens. You hear the stopping of the chewing. You hear shuffling and moving around.
And
you hear
then
more
two
chewing.
knocks for affirmative.
And then you hear 2 knocks.
Okay.
The blanket you had, I'm going to kind of tack it up the back end of the wagon and then use another one to do the front end. So at least this is somewhat of an enclosed environment.
Yeah, it's going to have to cut through or, something.
Okay.
Right.
That takes a couple minutes to do, but no problem. You're able to rig something together. Just to see how good of a rig it is, why don't you, let's say, make a dexterity check.
All right. 16.
Okay. You think you've secured the wagon pretty safely, and you're ready. What are you guys doing?
I'm going to turn the key, open the lid of my chest, and survey the damage, or get a drake in the face, whatever happens next.
Yeah, you lift up the lid, and again, there's a burst where it just flaps open really quick.
Mm-hmm.
The creature jumps into the air, and its wings are flapping, and it's maintaining a hovering position right above the crate. It's looking directly at you. You look into the crate itself, and you see the folio or the grimoire of the
Goat demon.
Yeah, the spell of summoning for the goat demon pretty much gone.
That's not good for it to eat.
Or is it?
It's summoning goat demons.
No, maybe it's destroying an evil spell, and it's celestial.
Yes, but unfortunately, Grodar, you're not there.
Oh,
and they haven't let anyone in on this gig yet, besides Alder and
I'll be quiet.
and no. Thank you, buddy.
Sorry, folks.
So it's flapping in the air, and then eventually it starts coming towards you, like closer towards you.
Yeah.
As it's hovering, its back 2 legs grip onto your shoulder.
I gestured down at the grimoire and say, are you going to finish that?
And it then wraps itself around your shoulder so that its front 2 claws are hanging over your shoulder, and it's like a shawl around the back of your neck.
Okay.
I think you have a new pet.
Okay.
You hear a noise you haven't heard before. It sounds like taking your thumb over a book, letting the pages go over your thumb, almost like a cat's fur.
Okay. This is better than I expected it to go. Maybe we just need lots of evil grimoires to feed it.
I think it just likes to eat magic. It makes it grow bigger. Is it bigger than when it first? Does it look bigger to you?
Go ahead and make an investigation check, Alder. You saw it very briefly.
See it from where I'm at.
At first. Now you can kind of see it a lot better, but I just want to see what you got.
I got a natural 20 for 24.
You are sure of the fact, actually, that some of the ruins that were on its wings are still the same, and it has not grown in size.
Okay.
So a couple runes that kind of caught your eye when it first flapped, that very first moment before you guys closed it back into the crate. you see those same runes, so it hasn't, at least that part of it hasn't changed.
Right. It's not consuming magic and growing as far as I can tell. It looks to be the exact same size. I'm not threatening it. I'm kind of standing farther away.
Yeah.
I'm saying this with my hands up. But it could probably fit back in that box. I'm just saying. You made a promise.
Yeah, I did. I don't want to box it yet. I'm going to hang out with it tonight here in this wagon.
You want me to leave the blankets up?
Yeah, if you could just sneak out, it'll be a nice test of whether or not it tries to bolt.
Oh, yes. I love sleeping in the grass. Thanks.
Is there room enough for two here?
I leave the tent.
It's about an 8 to 10 foot long wagon, and it's got some provisions in it, so it's really probably comfortable for one person. You could fit two in there. It would just be like two people that knew each other really well.
Which we do, but I'm fine.
You would definitely wake up with an arm and a leg over you somewhere.
Right, at some point. Some drool on your shoulder or something like that.
I want this to be awkward, Mel. You can get to know this thing. I don't want it knowing me. This is on you.
I appreciate it.
This is your creature. I gotta get used to sleeping outside anyways. I spent the majority of my life in the castle near the courtyard. It's just this journey. Mm-hmm. All right. See you later.
I'll trade you next day. I owe you.
No problem. Don't mention it. No, really. Don't mention it.
Okay, so Alder, you extricate yourself from the back of the wagon and leave the blockage of the blanket that you had placed over the opening.
Mm-hmm.
Mel, you find yourself alone with the creature. It seems to be quite comfortable on your shoulders. It's big. I mean, it's 2 foot long, so it's not small on your shoulders, but it also is very light, being made of paper and all. Even though it's made of a lot of pieces of paper, it's still fairly light. Maybe you would say 5 to 10 pounds. So not inconsequential, but not super heavy either.
Okay.
Like a large cat. A longer, large cat.
I get a bedroll and go over by the fire. Is Gabrielle nearby?
He is. She's sleeping, I think, unless she tells me otherwise.
I think she's been trying to, but...
I throw the bedroll next to the fire, next to her, and just whisper to her, You gotta talk to Melody tomorrow.
What about?
That girl just does some weird stuff.
Always has. And then she turns over. Talk to her.
Good enough. It's not crucial. Night.
All right. We'll focus on Mel for a little while longer here, and then we'll move on to the next scene. But I want to give Mel a chance to...
Yeah, we can zoom out on it. I think I just stay up all night trying to establish some rudimentary form of communication, feeding it messages, seeing if it can write back.
Oddly enough, it doesn't seem to, at least initially, as you're dealing with it, write back or speak. It doesn't speak at all to you so far. You don't see the runes on its being, on its wings and on its arms and legs and on its mane. You don't see any of that changing. Right now it seems to be changing. The way it communicates with you is by noises. So when you ask it something that's friendly or seemingly friendly type of correspondence, you'll get that purring noise. Or if you said something that was, maybe it took the wrong way, or it was a little bit coarser in language and wasn't as friendly of a situation, you would get almost like a hissing noise that the paper makes. The fact that it just has this way of expelling air and moving air through its pages that can make for a variety of sounds.
Okay. Then, yeah, we've got affirmatives and hell knows and all that going on.
Yeah, and you realize that the spell folio that you had gotten of the infernal creature summoning, the majority of it was eaten. After a few minutes, it goes back in and tries to eat the rest of it. There's probably 1/10 of it remaining at this point, but that's what it goes in and tries to do.
I'm not going to fight it on that. I don't know how much there is to salvage left.
It doesn't seem like much, but yeah, it goes ahead and finishes that. And then you notice that there is a piece of paper inside the trapped box that the creature was in, which I'll refer to as a lockbox going forward, and yours chest as the other place to store things. The lockbox has a sheet of paper on the bottom that's disturbed that you didn't notice before that wasn't part of the paper drake.
And doesn't seem to have been appetizing to the paper drake.
No.
Is it written in a language I can read?
It's written in common, actually.
Oh, shit, the only one I don't know. Okay. What's this one say before Alder's light goes out?
The signature is with a W, not the P that I have at the bottom. And this is what it says.
Rain. Unfortunately, my exhaustive efforts did not result in the success we had hoped for. My mages tried a variety of methods, and each was a failure in the awakening of the creature. I've enclosed it for safe shipment to you in the hopes that your expertise, in single quotes, will rouse it where my lackeys floundered. I do not need to remind you that secrets contained within this creature's pages are key to a profound power that will aid us in our shared endeavors. Warmest regards, W. Who sent me on this mission?
Not anyone with the name of a W. Lorenzen Red was your friend that had given you this information, Melody.
And just remember, none of us know that. But
And none of you know that is correct. Okay. The night passes. Marduk,
Yes?
in the morning when everyone wakes up and the night passes without incident, everyone takes their 2-hour watches and you end up getting your 6 hours of rest, although it's almost noon by the time you all get your rest. But you wake up and you're mending to the fire and making some breakfast, warming some food up. You feel this voice inside your head and you recognize it as being from Riven. Riven was the Minister of the Interior who sent you on this mission. He was the one who had to talk with you in the office of the head of the Academy. He came and gave you your mission. He's the one who is the head of Nil Corruptus, basically the Interior Ministry of Amira that roots out dangers, both foreign and domestic. So you hear Riven's voice inside your head. It says,
New intelligence. Force has departed from Solanthrin, Dragonborn led, and heading for the crypt. Push horses to 30 miles a day. Amira's grace to you.
You realize this is a sending spell. You've had them used on you in the past during your classes and stuff at the Academy. And you understand that you are allowed to respond with 25 words of your own.
Okay. I respond,
Acknowledged.
and I will rouse the team and inform them of Riven's message. And the time for this roadshow is over. We got to get going. We got to start making much better time.
why is that?
I give the message of the Dragonborn leader is making a move on the crypt, and we need to get there before they do. Riven, he orders us to make at least 30 miles a day.
He mentioned a city by the name of Solanthrin.
Oh,
Solanthrin is a city in the Chromatic Compact. It is the Dragon Empire. If you go to the southeast of your map, the bottom southeast corner of the map is the Chromatic Compact. It's past the Roving Wilds, just south of the Roving Wilds. And Solanthrin, it's a northernmost city in the Chromatic Compact, butting up against the Roving Wilds. Supposedly there is a force that has departed from Solanthrin heading towards the crypt. And Riven, your leader, wants you to push the horses from 24 miles a day to 30 miles a day. That's not a forced march. It's just going fast. You no longer are going to be paying quite as much attention. You're more likely to fall into an ambush potentially, but you're going to make better time. So there's 3 speeds you can go. You can go, I believe, 18 miles a day and use stealth. You can move 24 miles a day, which is what you've been doing, and travel at a normal speed. Then you can move 30 miles a day, and you actually don't perceive things as well as you would have moving at a slower speed. So he's asking you to push it to the highest speed you can go without being a forced march.
Right, and I explained or shared that to everyone on the team.
Right.
Okay.
Mel, do you come out of the back of the...
Yeah, why'd you guys make a tent
wagon?
in the back of the wagon?
What's going on?
I
Is she
guess I've
changing?
got to bring the tent down in order for us to get packed and ready to go. But yeah, Mel has bags under her eyes. She hasn't slept. I have an exhaustion level.
Yes, you do. Everyone else, including you, Rodor, get your spell slots back from the morning. Everyone else needs to pray, those of you who are clerics or paladins, to get your spells. So it's interesting. Mel does come out of the back of the wagon, but she has a small dragon made of parchment
Sticking
paper
around.
on her shoulders. Mel, when you take the blanket off the back of the wagon, it does not abscond or move away. It stays close to you.
That's new.
Yeah, I took up Papercraft last night, and it really went off.
Okay.
Absolutely lifelike.
What do you feed it?
Well, it ate the grimoire.
Oh, geez, I was going to inscribe that in my spell book.
I'm right there with you. I would have rather it haven't done that. But
Bad dragon.
Where did you acquire this? Seriously? Papercraft?
it was unawakened, and something in our travels appears to have woken it. I was set to bring it to Tarask and hand it off to somebody. It woke up before that.
Is that celestial writing I see on its wings?
Is it just celestial writing, Scott?
So
It is celestial writing, yes.
Is it encrypted the same way the spear is?
No, it's fragmented.
Because of the folds and
The
whatnot?
fold of a wing has on in its celestial be, and the study of the tombs of Aramea, it has like little bits of what look to be musings or ponderings of someone. They all seem to be a little bit different and all seem to be fragmented.
Fragmented and folded upon itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gabrielle, can you read Celestial?
absolutely.
I don't think we should unfold it. That seems uncouth.
Alder looks at Gabrielle since he knows that she can read Celestial as well, and that just kind of looks like a historical book. It doesn't look like anything.
Yeah, it's like
Magical
a
in nature.
first-hand account, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. That makes sense.
Yeah, both those are very good surmises.
Can't surmise what about without taking the beast apart. I don't think that's appropriate.
You hear a small hiss come from the creature.
Yeah, don't think it would appreciate that.
I was hoping the era its first-hand account might be from could help us with the archaic cipher we're dealing with. But I have yet to make progress on that front. Our communication is limited so far.
Say your communication is limited so far, Mel, to everyone else,
Yeah.
and it changes how it's sitting on your shoulders so that its head bends around and it looks you directly in the eyes.
It's not done this before.
I'd take one step closer just because I'm a little concerned.
When you
Yeah,
say
it
that.
hasn't done this before.
No.
I guess I stammer and
I think it likes
take
you.
a step back, but I can't really get away from something that's on my shoulders.
No.
And I just kind of mutter like, well, you're just purring stuff. I didn't think that was going to help us translate something that is written in prose.
It brings its eyes and its face even closer to yours and, again, is staring at you intently.
Are you okay?
I'm fine. I don't know what it's trying to initiate.
Being a wizard who knows about making pacts and warlocks having fiends and drakes and such as pets, do I know anything about what this thing is trying to do?
It looks like it's trying to look into his soul, is what it looks like to you.
I tell him, I think it's trying to talk to you. You need to look into its eyes and see if you can communicate at a different level other than your voice.
Okay. I'm gonna try to roll insight while meeting its eyes. Does that seem reasonable?
Seems reasonable to me.
Straight 10 for now. I
you
think
find
a
it
sleepless
hard to
night.
focus because its gaze is so intense on you that it takes you back a little bit. And then what I'd like you to do is I would like you to make a wisdom saving throw as you stare back into its eyes.
Another 10.
Okay. You feel yourself start to get tunnel vision. Like you're looking deeply into its eyes, and its eyes are two black beads. And those two black beads start to come together into like a black background almost. You look closer and you feel the darkness coming, like you're almost like fading into the blackness, like you're entering into a black tunnel. You see what looks to be almost like, well, I don't want to say what because everyone's listening, but suffice it to say, Mel collapses to the ground.
Oh, jeez.
And the thing lights off of its shoulders and then lands right next to her and hurls up in a circle right on her chest by her body.
Okay.
What did you do? I'm drawing my rapier and walking a little bit closer. I'm trying to see if it's doing anything detrimental.
You come up and you draw your rapier and it positions itself between you and Mel and it hisses. It expands its wings out as wide as it can. Like it gets as big as it can get. It's not huge by any stretch of imagination, but it gets as big as it can get and it backs up against Mel like it's trying to protect her and it hisses at you.
That is slightly reassuring, and I back away, lowering my rapier because it's protecting Mel and angry at me, which is a good thing.
It seems that this creature may have imprinted upon Mel. It's protecting her.
That's great, but it also seems to have dumped her into a coma.
Well, she was exhausted already from reading all night. I suggest that we put her in the back of the wagon.
If you're going to let us touch her.
When a magical, one of you guys gets an animal, a familiar, is there any kind of binding ritual?
Usually there's a binding ritual that you perform that brings the creature to you, so it kind of comes to you because you called it. Since this one was already... It came to her instead of her calling it, so I guess it's kind of a reverse binding ritual, if you ask me, where it's trying to bind to her instead of her trying to bind to it or whatever. So I have a feeling they tried to communicate and she overloaded Mel's circuits and knocked her out.
Mel also has been in intimate contact with her all night and has been feeding this creature, so again, that might be a way of making a magical connection between the two.
I think we need to break camp.
Yes.
Someone want to keep an eye on these two to make sure it's Grodor?
Yeah, we can do that. We'll get ready to go, and if we can't roust her by then we're going to have to find a way to get her into the cart. If worst comes to worst, I think we can write it a note letting her know our good intentions and let it eat it and read it, and we'll continue on.
I'm going to try to talk to it in Celestial, see if it understands. I say, we need to move her to the wagon.
I think I've already angered it, so I'm going to start breaking down the camp. Go ahead, you handle this, Gabrielle.
Go ahead and make persuasion check, Gabrielle.
I rolled a 16 in Celestial. I speak out to the creature.
And what did you say to it?
If we're going to get moving the way we're supposed to, we need to move her to the wagon. Will you let us?
It climbs up on top of her and puts its head down on her shoulder and purrs.
And then, Grodor, help me up.
Yeah, I do that.
Over. Like a strength check if you need me to, but
no, you can pick her up without too much trouble at all.
Yeah.
With a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, with a little bit, because Grodor is not the strongest. But you grab the legs, Grodor, and Gabrielle grabs Mel's upper torso, and the Drake never leaves contact with Mel. When you pull her over onto her back so you can lift her up, it moves so it's on her stomach.
All right.
And so you're carrying both of them, although obviously the Drake isn't heavy at all.
Brother
you go ahead
Byron,
and put them both into the back of the wagon if you like.
Yeah, Brother Byron, I want you to watch her while we're shipping out. Make sure her health doesn't get any worse. And then, Grodor, come with me. We can finish packing everything else up. We need to hurry.
Cool.
Okay,
Leave her
so
alone
without
for a little bit.
taking too much time from breaking camp, we'll say you guys got camp broke. You're on the road by 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Before we leave, I'd like, Brother Byron, could you check on her health to make sure she's doing all right?
So you break camp around 1 bell and are on the road.
Oh, wait. I just wanted to mention, I think we're already bad enough at spotting things that moving at double time or forced march might not be that huge penalty. I mean, we're already not spotting things regularly. If we're going to get ambushed, we may as well make good time and get ambushed.
It seems the time for stealth is over. The orders were that we need to make haste, so that's what we'll do. And I agree with you.
Exceptional haste is required.
Right.
It's a race now.
That's a race. That's a good way to say it.
Right.
After we break out of Iron Sword Pass, we can make a decision. If they contact us again and it sounds even more dire that we hurry, that it's a good way to make up for lost time. But if we can avoid it, we're supposed to meet up in Trask with a contact of ours that has information about the crypt.
Well, and maybe there will be some inspiration or insight that will allow us to think of ways to slow them down, too, whether Grodor petitions his patron or something is revealed that may help us. But for now, make speed.
And we usher our horses up to utmost speed, the wagon clacking along down the road, making quite a racket.
Yes, and you are definitely pulling through the foothills and entering some decent-sized hills at this point as you make your way east towards Iron Sword.
If anybody asks why our dire haste is afoot, we were escorting the young lady home when she fell ill. Bam. Works fine.
That does
All
work.
right, sorry.
Within an hour of breaking camp and right around 2 bells, you come upon a patrol of Soul Guard, probably out from the city of Iron Sword. They're coming in the opposite direction. They're coming towards you. There are 4 of them. All 4 are on horseback, fairly well armored. 2 of them are in leather armor. 2 of them are wearing like chain shirts. They seem like good warriors of the Republic. They come upon you. One of them puts a hand up and waves towards you as you're getting close to passing and says, "Hail, travelers. How's the road ahead?"
Nice to meet you. And we do want to share some information with you, something that you're going to run into on the road ahead. It's generally clear, but there was an incident that we must explain.
Do tell.
And
What
I
happened?
do, in fact, explain. I show him the patch, I show him the letter, I show him the ring, I tell him a story about what we found, the wagon on fire, the Goliath, the fact that we killed the Goliath and then additional ones came to recover the corpse, and that we took care of the bodies as best we could, but we would like them to be able to pass this information back to their next of kin, if anything is possible.
He listens to the story with concern and then a little bit of anger when he realizes there's 2 people who are dead. More anger when he realizes it was Goliaths working this low in the pass. You're not really in the pass yet, so it's even more startling that Goliaths would be this far from their mountain home. But overall, he appreciates your information and says he'll make sure that the parties that are interested in their whereabouts will be alerted.
Tell them that we wish we had come upon it earlier and had been able to assist them, but at the very least, we're able to revenge.
Yes, he's pleased that you were able to kill one of the Goliaths at least. And interestingly, doesn't disparage the fact that you didn't battle 3 of them at once on your own. When you told that part of the story, you were a little bit sheepish, well, yeah, they came to retrieve the body, and
I kind of want to sell the fact that they didn't seem like this was a normal area for them to attack.
Okay.
So I think the future is going to be at least a little safer than this elderly
rogue
Goliath rogue that didn't behave normal. So.
Well, he takes all the information, appreciates your efforts, and then they take off at a steady trot towards the area that you described further.
We also
west
asked
on the road.
them
about the other direction if there's, which we're assuming there's nothing dangerous because they would have handled it.
Sunny skies and clear roads to Iron Sword.
Travel safe, and we go on.
Some of you were talking about potentially not meeting your contact in Karask, which is certainly an option for you. Just recall you were given, because it's been a long time, you were given 3 scrolls of sending in order to communicate if you had things you wanted to communicate. And you also have 25 words that you can respond when you are communicated via the sending spell. If they contact you again, you've got a chance to respond. You also have the potential to initiate conversation through the 3 scrolls that you have. And so the pathway is clear. As you draw nearer to Iron Sword, you see lots more foot traffic. Even as the hills are getting more mountainous, there are still farms and vineyards. There are carts and caravans traveling from these locations to and from Iron Sword. There's a lot of traffic that starts to pick up on the South Way as you make your way towards the city. And just about dusk, you find yourselves cresting a hill, and then in the distance, you see the glowing lights of the walled city of Iron Sword in Iron Sword Pass. There's stout, large, towered walls that ring around the city that blocks the pass of Iron Sword Pass. Going up from the walls of the city towards a central citadel on a hill in the middle of the city is the town itself. Just rows of buildings leading upward, stacked on top of each other almost in a very steep angle, like you would find in a seaside town up on the coast. It's very similar. There's a hill that this city is built on. The large, tall walls ring this city, and it has large bastions that are built into the walls themselves. Then there's the city beyond that raises up towards a large hilltop that is dominated by a citadel that is absolutely enormous, a square citadel that is absolutely enormous and contains crenellations and trebuchets and ballista and everything else upon it. It is a fortified city that sits in the middle of this pass that leads through the Middle Ridge peaks. You're approaching it at dusk, and I think I'm actually going to call it here because I don't want to get into the start of the scene, and I also want a chance to talk to Jonathan about what happens during the 8 hours that you traveled during the day, what happens to his character, Melody, and whether or not she'll be back awake. As you stare into the paper drake's eyes, everything goes black, and you feel vertigo. Go ahead and make a dexterity check.
A total of 3.
Okay. You find yourself collapsing onto something hard. You fall on your hands and knees, maybe some packed dirt as you look down with a couple of flagstones in it. As you bring your head up and look around, there's a veil of fog surrounding you. You probably can't see more than 20, 30 feet in the distance. Eerily silent. And there's this, it's like the mist that you can't really see through is also absorbing the sound. But in the distance, you can see the stone face of a tower that rises into the white mist. And there's a rounded doorway that breaks its face with a golden glow emanating from the inside of it.
Well, I don't think I'm being chased or anything. I'm going to make my way towards that.
All right. As you get closer, you can see the tower rises at least 20 or 30 feet into the air. It's hard to see because the fog eventually obscures all vision. As you look through the doorway, you see parts of what look to be a rounded room, as if the room is the same size as the tower itself. A ceiling maybe 10, maybe 15 foot high or so. You can see some pedestals inside the doorway, but that's about all you can see standing outside of it.
There's no door to knock on,
No, there's not.
so I'm invited in. I'm going to head on in.
Okay. You cross the threshold, and you can see that there are intermittent wall sconces holding torches around the exterior of the room. Each of those torches is burning with a nice golden glow, what you would expect from a torch. It could be magical, but it's putting off a regular amount of light. You see 5 pedestals arranged in a semicircle. It kind of dominates the central space of the tower. The middle pedestal is slightly higher than the 2 that flank it to either side. On each of the pedestals, there looks to be either papers or a book, something that has to do with writing. Each of them bathed in a pale, magical light.
The walls of the tower are just bare, and it's kind of these things in the middle and not much else.
Correct.
Gonna go take a look-see. I think I'm operating on dream logic.
All right. You walk up, and sure enough, you see 5 pedestals arranged in a semicircle, 2 to the left, and 1 in the center that's larger, and 2 to the right. The one on the left contains what looks almost exactly, or is exactly like, the infernal grimoire that you had found in the abandoned building in Cockshire. That seems to be displayed on the leftmost of the podiums. Next pedestal over contains several sheets of a thick paper, and the papers are bound together on their left margin with what looks to be sheepscut or some other type of securing device. On the larger middle pedestal, you could see a small, thick volume. Its cover has ornate etchings on it. The next pedestal to the right, then, holds a single large sheet of vellum, while the last stand on the far right has what looks to be an atlas-sized book. You're probably standing maybe 10 feet away from them at this point.
I think the vellum would be comforting. I would go check out that one first. It is probably similar to a lot of the volumes I read back at my first place of education.
It looks to be a map of some sort of the sphere. It's all done in amber hues and blacks. There's some whites, but it looks to be some sort of map as you look down on the podium. Again, it's bathed in this pale magical light, so it's tough to see really clearly, but that's your general impression of it as you look down in it.
This is me not getting close.
This is,
Because I was expecting I would go up and read it.
you can get close, and to inspect it and read it, you would have to pick it up.
Gotcha.
Since it's bathed in magical light, I just want to assume that, and so
Right.
you decided which volume of, or any volumes that you wanted to pick up.
Well, if I've got like a magic about to pop off kind of vibe, I am going to look at my options. Let's look at the atlas and then make our way to the big central one.
As you get closer, the light of the magic obscuring it a bit, it looks to have a cover that's engraved and wooden. At least a good 9 by 14 maybe. So it's larger than a typical sheet of paper. You can't really see much besides that by looking at it without picking it up.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to get what I can from all of these before I grab one. So what's going on in the central one? If I can get a description of that a little more.
Sure. The central pedestal. Has,
Is it kind of like a lectern?
yeah, kind of like that. A lectern's a good term as well. It has something that's much smaller, but very thick. It's maybe 6 or 7 inches tall and maybe 4 to 5 wide. It's almost like what you would imagine the size of a diary. On the front of it is etchings in the leather, so it has like a leather cover, and it has etchings that look to be magical in nature, but that's, again, all you can tell from looking at that.
And right before the grimoire was a couple thick sheets bound by sheep's gut?
Correct. That has what looks to be a title on the first page of the thick paper, interestingly, written in Orcish. And it says, our history. To the far left is what you remember to be the infernal grimoire that you had found in the abandoned buildings in that clearing in the woods by Copshire, where it was used to summon the infernal goatman.
I think I'm going to go for the Orcish histories and grab that piece.
Okay, go ahead and make a Arcana check.
I've got a total of 8 on that.
Okay. You reach down and for whatever reason, the white pale light that surrounds the paper and the binding resist your touch. You go to reach and touch it, and you feel this pressure back, almost like a wall of force surrounding it that doesn't allow you to penetrate it and pick it up, much to your dismay.
Okay. Can I use inspiration on that and try to get a better roll?
I don't see why not.
There we go, that's 19.
Okay, with your 19, you try harder as your hands hover over and are resisted, and eventually your hands are able to push through the resistance, and you grasp the book, and it is in your hands.
Well, I'm going to try to pull it out of the light, or if I can stay comfortably here, then I don't mind reading it, but it did seem to resist me, so I don't want to stick around if I can help it.
So what do you do?
Can I remove the tome from this area so that I can read it at my leisure?
You're able to remove it from the lectern. Where are you trying to take it?
Just to a corner where I can use one of the torches to read it.
Yeah, you certainly don't have any resistance doing that.
Okay, then I'm going to pore over this for a bit. This just seems like a very protected library to me.
You open it up, you turn the page, and there's nothing written on the next page except for a single word, which is travels.
Is it in really large print? This is for,
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Point.
And you turn to the next page, and it says travels. And you turn to the next page, and it says travels. And there's a total of about 12 pieces of large, thick paper bound together, and it just says the word travels on each one of the pages.
And what I know of Orcish history is not insubstantial, just from my history with my family and whatnot. Were they nomadic before they came to settle in the area they are?
They did have to travel to get to the Orcish autonomous region, which was given to them.
Certainly not called that at the time.
Right, exactly. They're called the Hollow Lands. You know that they did have to travel to get there because they were kind of removed from society as a whole. According to powers that were in charge of Amira at that time, they had betrayed their code to Amira and to both the country of Amira and both the goddess of Amira, and were banished to the Hollow Lands.
Okay. I'm going to take out my quill and ink bottle, write a good start, these details, quite a bit to go here, and I'm going to go to return the paper.
It does not take any ink from your pen.
Okay.
It just has these words written in there that are all exactly the same.
Same strokes and everything? As if it
Exact
were
same.
a printer
Right.
kind of thing? Okay.
As if it were
Stamps, I guess, would be our equivalent in this time. But that's curious. I wonder if there's more to this than I can read right now. But I am going to try to grab another volume, maybe the Atlas, to see where their travels were or something like that.
Okay. You go over to the Atlas, you're going to need to make an Arcana check to try to lift it from its pedestal.
Now that I've had experience, do I have any sort of bonus, or can I spend time to piece together?
I'll give you advantage on the roll.
Okay. Well, that's a 16.
Okay. You are able to pick the Atlas up off the lectern. As you open it, there's a map on the front. There's one word on each of the pages that are within, and this word is travail.
Travail.
Yes. And again, the same word over and over again throughout the entire 8 to 10 pages. It's not an overly thick volume.
If I am to line these up in order as left to right, of like what pedestals they came from, the Orcish histories were middle left of the two.
Let's go 1 to 5, left to right. Number 2 was the Orcish history. Number 5 was the Atlas. You still have what looks like the Infernal Grimoire at number 1. You have what looks to be a thick diary on the higher pedestal in the middle, number 3. And then you have one large sheet of vellum, I think, at number 4.
I'm going to call out for somebody. Like, is anyone here? I don't want to keep stealing your stuff. It doesn't want to get stolen.
You do not hear a response.
Then I'll just keep stealing your stuff then. So I'm going to go to the grimoire that I used to know somewhat of what it said, but presumably it now has a single word message to tell me. And try to get through that arcane barrier.
Go ahead and see if you can get through it with advantage.
An 18 to pull it out.
Okay. You are able to get through. That has a single word, and it's evil.
Oh, shit.
All the writing is seemingly gone, and there's just one word written.
The diary and the center I'll try for now. I return, or try to return the book to its pedestal?
Yes, that's
easy enough.
That works, yeah, that's easy enough.
Okay. Then I can return the other ones as well, and go to the diary and make another roll.
Yes. Go on to the diary and make another roll, please.
23.
Oh, that's very good. Exceptional, even. You are able to get purchase on the diary and get it off of the pedestal. You see the word hope on every page, and it's probably a good 50, 60 pages worth of content with the word hope written over and over and over again. And because you rolled so incredibly high, you get the feeling that these are magical words. These are key words that are going to do something. You get the idea that perhaps this word is linked to this book.
Okay.
Hope being linked to the diary, and travail to the Atlas, and travels to the Orcish history, and evil to the grimoire. Each one seems to have, your magical training is kind of kicking in here, and as you keep doing it, it keeps happening. You're like, these words are keyed to this book that I'm holding right now. So if there's one word in it, it's keyed. And that's what you kind of get from your exceptional roll there.
Okay. While I'm holding the diary and say hope, is there any effect?
Actually, there is. You feel yourself go black. Everything goes black. And you feel the sense of vertigo again. It's nauseating and confusing. You feel a bumping and a jostling, and you realize that you're back in the back of the wagon. You're laying down. They've made you comfortable. They've propped some bedroll under your head. The paper drake is laying on your stomach, looking up at you. So its tail is down by your legs. Its midsection is on your midsection, and its head is close to your chest, gazing up and looking at you.
Melody tells him, you stayed a whole bunch of evil, didn't you? Trying to use that keyword from the book that he ate.
When you say the word evil, he, if it's a he, I guess it can be he, why not?
I don't mind. I don't care.
Yeah, might as well be. He reconfigures himself like through origami, and he is the grimoire.
I guess we didn't lose that after all. Have you got hope in there as well?
Again, a shuffling, and he becomes the diary.
Well, there's a fourth one I'll never find out. I mean, a fifth one, I guess. It was the fourth of Vellum.
Right, it was the Vellum.
Well, as a GM, you just got to keep your ears out for that when it's accidentally uttered, and then you can go, secret word.
And we'll say someone peeks into the back of the wagon at this point to check in on you. We'll say
I'm reading the orcish
Alder.
stories at this point.
And you're up and reading. Alder lets out a exclamation of relief and says, good timing. We just arrived at Iron Sword. I think we'll stop it here. We'll call it here for the night. And I just want to say that great role-playing, everyone. That battle with the Goliath I thought was going to be... I knew you guys would win. It wasn't going to be a challenging battle, but I thought it would get at least a couple blows in, and you guys absolutely dominated that battle. I was very impressed with it, so great job with that. Yeah. And then a shout out to Mel and Alder for their role-playing of the very strange situation of the Drake and what happened there, and then a shout out to everyone else's patience for not being the center of attention for half of the night. I'm going to give a inspiration to Rodor for his suggestion to look into the eyes of the creature, which wasn't exactly apparent. It was trying to make it apparent, but you guys still needed to draw that connection, and Grodor is the one who came up with the connection that needed to be drawn. So inspiration for you, Grodor.
Cool.
I'd like to also give an inspiration to Alder and Mel for their role-playing in opening the lockbox and dealing with the Drake.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks to our listeners for hanging in there tonight and hopefully enjoying a very twisty and turny set of events with the Drake. And we'll see you again next week.
Thank you for listening to Knights of the Night Actual Play Podcast. If you'd like to send us a question, comment, or feedback, you can reach us in a number of ways, including Twitter at KOTN_podcast or by emailing us at feedback@KOTNpodcast.com. And don't forget the iTunes reviews. We also have a Facebook page which can be found at facebook.com/KOTN.podcast. While on Facebook, you can join like-minded folks at our fan page at facebook.com/groups/KOTN-fan. And lastly, there's our blog at KOTNpodcast.com, where there's an Amazon link on the right-hand side for those of you who'd like a more steady way to help us pay the bills. Or if you live outside the U.S., you can help by donating to our Patreon page at patreon.com/KOTN. And please remember to join us next week for more mystery and adventure. I'm envisioning looking up on YouTube eating paper. Sound effect. Anyway,
That's what you're going to be doing. you hear a noise you haven't heard before. It sounds like taking your thumb over a book and letting the pages go over your thumb, almost like a cat's purr.
Okay.
Oh, now you're just being challenging.
Okay, so Alder, you extricate yourself from the back of the van. Wow. You extricate yourself from the back of the...
Mystery van.
Yeah, exactly. There's
Back of the
Scooby snacks and everything.
Wagon.
Yeah.
But let's get back to the rest of the group for now.
Yeah, Melody and I have been taking most of the night here. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. It happens some nights where that's the case, and...
You can send a personal message, Scott? Slash.
Yeah, I will in a sec.
Sure.
Just because I want to follow through with the intensity of the moment. And that's where we'll end it.
Okay.
Good work.
Thanks. I should have investigated everything before triggering that, but oh well.
Well, maybe there's a way to get back there. We'll see, right?
Yeah. More gently, anyway.
Yeah.
Did I suffer any damage when I stumbled into that dream?
No. If you would have rolled a natural 1, I probably would have gave you some damage. But I ended up just saying it was more of a mental magical thing. I didn't want to cause a bunch of damage for that.
Sure. I don't know that my exhaustion would have gone away from having slept that time in the wagon, given that it was kind of nauseating and magical.
Yeah, we'll say you're still 1 level of exhaustion. How about that?
Okay.
Other titles that were available for voting for this episode on the Facebook fan page were Could You Poop Out a Translation? I Think You Have a New Pet. No, really, don't mention it. Push horses to 30 miles a day. I don't think we should unfold it. That's uncouth. And it's race time.